All right, I was asked to show my flow of using these Windows shortcut keys that I'm going to call my little Vim imitator dictionary for the time being. My game here is going to be to try to ignore my mouse completely using these tools. Some of them are new to me. You're not going to see my flow. I can't do a work recording, but hitting Windows 7 brings up PowerShell, and then oh wait, I've lost my layout display. There it is. All right, so that's Windows 7 to bring up the PowerShell window. Then we need to open a file, which is Control O, and we're in the steno folder. Is this the right one? What am I doing wrong? I'm hitting that. All right, so we want to take a look at this file here. So that was done with Control O. If we want to move down a little bit, we'll hit Page Down. Uh, we're inside a loop right now. Let me just move up a little bit. See, if I wanted to move down 5 lines, I could hit down, hit 5 down. That takes me to there. Now, if I wanted to hit function 9 to put in a breakpoint, we can do that. We can hit function 5 to start the script running. Try it again. There we go. Now we hit the breakpoint. So at this point, I've been moved into the lower left-hand corner of the application. I can take a look at stenos, bracket, $I, close bracket, which requires that. And the value there is KPW. If you look at line 25, KPW is the very first element in the array. And that's going to correspond, if we take a look at $letters, and we take our bracket again, and $I, and this time see if we can close bracket correctly, backspace. So you can take a look at line 24. The first element of the array is backspace. Line 25, first element of the array is KPW. If I hit KPW, it will literally do a backspace. There's nothing to backspace here. But let's hit F11, sounds like a good one. F11, we continue to run, and F11 again. If I'm doing this right, we're continuing to run. All right, so now letters are still backspace. All right, so I'm going to hit Alt-V to drop down my menu. Let me go over to debug. Still haven't touched the mouse. F11 is step into, Shift F11 is step out. So let's get out of here, and instead of just hitting F11, we're going to hit Shift F11, and you'll notice that we start hitting breakpoints every time we do it. Now, if I go up and look at my letters, instead of backspace, it's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. $I should be 5 or 4 because we're in a zero-based array. So if I take a look at my stenos, sub I, that's WR. So you see that WR corresponds to right if you compare line 24 to line 25. So I'm able to run PowerShell in the debugger, look at variables, still haven't taken my hands off the keyboard using this cute little tool. Now there's a way for me to shift over to the code view. I don't know what it is, so I'm going to hit Alt-V to figure out what that is. TH is not what I meant to hit. Alt-V, showing the script pane is R, show script pane top is Control-1, go to script pane is Control-I. So here's Control-I. Now I'm in the script pane. I don't do this every day, so I have to look at it, but it's kind of fun to look at. Now, if I want to copy this stuff, I can select it all from the keyboard, hit Control C, and now if I want to play with it a little bit, I can hit Windows 3 to switch over to Notepad++. I'm going to hit F8 to switch over here, hit Control N, and paste that. Now, I don't know how to resize this window without a mouse. Probably is a way. I don't know what it is. So we go back over to here. Now, at this stage, I've got, well, let me switch over to the other view now. And I'm just going to hit page up. And I can see line 72 is what my for loop should look like in Python. I've got a PowerShell for loop. So I switch back over to the other view. I control home to go back up to the beginning of the thing. You'll notice that in Python the $sign does not represent a variable. So I'm just going to hit Control H, and I'm going to put a backslash $sign. I have to use the backslash because I've got regular expressions set. If you wanted to, again, not taking my finger off, I just switched to normal search mode, so I don't need the backslash. I could put a simple $sign up in there. Speaking of which, I typoed that, so I'm going to hit Alt F to come back up to my find screen, and I can now put what's supposed to be there as a $sign. I don't know why I put an H, too much going on. I'm going to replace it with nothing by hitting Alt A. So now all the $signs are gone. I'm done with that screen. So we're going to say for count, comma, F letter. So forward one word. I really don't need any of that. So I delete the rest of the line by hitting Control Delete. All right, so we don't need that either. Delete that. We're going to say for count, comma, F, let's forget the F. That's not going to help me. Letter, in enumeration. There's probably an easier way to say that. And let's just say letters, and we end with a colon. I'm going to take a quick look over here. Letters, colon. All right, I typed that correctly. All right, so now we go forward to here. You'll notice that all we're doing is we're changing values sub stenos. I'm in line 75 on the left-hand pane. I'm ignoring line 73 and 74. If I want to transform this line, it's probably easiest to copy it from the left-hand pane to the right-hand pane. That's not hard to do. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. So let's go home and down with a shift, copies that, F8, well, F8, hit Control Z, we typoed. All right, so now we've fixed that. Now F8 over to here. Let's just put in a new line. We'll put in a tab. We'll paste that. So now we've got what we had in this, we have over here. I'm going to switch back over to here. I'm going to say Control W to close this window. I am not going to save those changes. Now we have a full screen to work with, a little easier to read. Now, if I wanted to try to transform this, the line 4 to look like line 2, do it in editing ways, I'm going to delete 3 characters. That was hitting 3 asterisk and delete. So those 3 characters go away. Really should have deleted that also. I'm going to type the word values. Then we want the square bracket. And we like stenos, so I'm just going to forward a word there. Instead of sub I, it's sub count. So I'm going to put in the word count. I'm going to move over one more. I've moved a word instead of a character. Now, we don't want that. Instead, we want a plus. And then we'll go forward a word. We will delete the next 3 characters we definitely don't want. And instead, we want a close bracket, which requires that thing. Forward there, we need the equal sign, space. Don't need that space. All right, now the back tick is not needed, and we don't want letters sub I. I'm going to go forward 2 words, get rid of that S. So nav, semicolon. The parentheses is PowerShell. We don't want that. And we want this to be count also because we changed the name of our index variable. Get rid of that. And then, all right, so that's legit in PowerShell because PowerShell allows you to embed a variable in a double quote and it will expand that variable. That is not legit in Python. So I'm going to hold the shift key as I word back. I'm going to hit Control Z because I didn't want to do that. All right, so X that. And what I'm going to put in here instead is just %s. And that's the Python fprint way of doing this. So we need the %sign, then we open some parentheses. Now we paste in letter subcount, and we're going, well, we don't need subcount, we're enumerating, we already have letter. So I can delete that, delete that, and delete that. I did that with delete a character, delete a word, delete a character. So now we're sticking in letter where % s is. If I wanted to make this just a little more interesting, you'll remember that I had the gap and cap, and you see that up at line 2. Easy enough to insert. %s, %s. For the record, for those of you that are keeping track of little things to laugh at, my hands are shaking like a leaf. I've got like 3 people watching this video, and that is all it takes to completely make me a nervous wreck. All right, so at this point, I want to forward a word, forward a word. So I've got one line that looks like what I want. You'll notice line 5 is adding the control character, not adding bare navigation. It's navigation plus the control character. And then line 6, we're adding the shift character. Line 7, we add the alt character. Line 8, we add control shift. And so I want to make these things look the same. All right, so I'm just going to take, I'm going to hold the shift key down. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to hit Control H. I'm going to tab that. And I'm going to, that's not quite what I want. So let me Shift Tab, go to the end, and put the open parens there. That's good. I'm going to put in values lowercase, and then I want my square bracket, right? And Alt-A gets rid of all those. So we've made a little bit of an improvement. Don't know how to move this without using the mouse, so I'll cheat and use the mouse on that. Next, instead of saying brackets I close brackets, I've got to change BRBing to close brackets because I will never use that. We're going to say brackets and count and close brackets without the vowel in there. And this is going to, all right, so right now if I do this, I'm going to replace it over in letters too, and that doesn't really matter, so we'll just do it. All right, so we've got sub count. Now we have close parens, right? Close parens dash, and instead of that, we want space plus space, and we can replace all those. So we're starting to look like what we want. Next we want backtick, and I've forgotten how to do a backtick in steno, so I reached over to my QWERTY keyboard for that. And we got a double quotes, we got a colon, and we want that space Uh, so all we want here is a close, not open, close square brackets, space equals, and we're leaving the space. So you're able to do large scale editing in place. The next one with it's easy enough to get rid of the backtick. We can get rid of the backtick everywhere. Um, the next stuff is a little more difficult. We want the control L. All we really want to change is letters sub count. Let's do it. Let's see. Let's go to the end of the line. We'll go back and let's go backwards with shift. When we have shift, we're copying things. So we copy that. We say Control H. We didn't really need to copy it. All we need there is %s. We're just replacing that whole thing with %s. So that worked. Next trick is interesting because we got various levels of parentheses. You'll notice that the parentheses at level 5 are 2 deep. The parentheses at line 9 are 3 deep. But what we want to do is get rid of the double quotes and turn them into single quotes, right? So what we're going to do is just pop a pair of double quotes there, and every one of those, let's go up and be lazy. If I go to the end with shift on, I can copy that and say Control H, Control A, Control X. You can, by the way, you can scroll through things you've typed before. They all stay in the search bar. All right, so what do we want to do? We want to replace double quotes, go back to the beginning of that line. We still want one double quote and a space in there. And that should actually do what we want. And so now we've transformed all those lines to look like the top line, except for I've got F underscore shift. And there's a reason for that in the dictionary. So that's not necessarily my flow per se, but it's how I actually edit large number of lines at one time. If I want to go back to the beginning of this line, let's go down 4 lines, and let's go forward 5 words, and that puts us right here at the end of count. Now let's delete 5 characters and put them back. It's possible to do an awful lot of editing. Now, there's a fun thing that you can do in Notepad++. Don't know how to change this tab. I'm sure it's a quick shortcut. I'm going to do a search for everywhere that I have Control underscore L and mark them. So you're able to mark things in your text, and those marks will stay there. If I escape out of here and I mouse over, you'll notice that green goes away. If I, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Control Z works. Control V also would work. If I select that word, it's going to highlight every instance of that word. But then as soon as I select anything else, you lose that highlighting. But once you mark something, it stays marked. Kind of a fun thing you can do when you're programming. Another exciting thing you can do, if I do Alt-V, I can arrow down and choose word wrap. And now word wrap's on. You can do it through arrowing, or it tells you what all of the keyboard shortcuts are available to you. So toggling full screen mode, let's see here. Have I? It's right there, so that's easy. And you've also got post-it mode. which gets rid of the header. If you wanted to show the whole screen, you can go full screen post it, and all you're seeing is text. If that's what you're looking for, it just isn't that hard to get it. You can switch back and forth with the keyboard, um, and I don't know, but to me, that gives me as much power as I've got in Vim. Now, a couple of these keyboard shortcuts I've been using every day for 2 years. A couple of them are brand new. I wrote them yesterday, and you see the difference there. Page down, page up. If I've got a longer document, oh, let's see. Um, I have a longer document. Do I have one open? No. So if I hit Alt F and open 1, now I've got a longer document. So I can page down, page down, page down, page down, page down, or I can say 3 page up, and I go up 3 pages up. And Shift G to go to the end of the document, just Control End does the same thing. This lines 136, 135 through 144 there, those are the lines that Benoit gave me that made this whole dictionary work. So that I added line 142 and 143 so that I wouldn't get confused. But this is the dictionary, 144 lines worth of dictionary that makes all these keyboard shortcuts work. And like I said, I'm going to run this thing for a week at work and make sure I don't have any bugs. If you take a look at 124, line 124, you'll see that it's 4-9SDZ is Windows 4 to switch to program number 4. In my case, program number 4 is Internet Explorer. That's how it works. But you'll also notice that line 125 doesn't have the dash because 5 is steno A, and steno A, you don't need a dash because you're using a vowel. And you end up with a lot of little bitty errors like that. That you got to actually use all these Control, Shift, and Alt things to find where you've botched something. Anyway, it was exciting writing this. Thank you again to Benoit, and hopefully you see how you can switch between programs, switch between tabs. Did I show switch between tabs? If I wanted to go to the double stroke commands, I would hit Alt W4. That takes me to show strokes. Oh, I want 6 now. Alt W6 is double stroke commands. So Benoit provided this too. Right now, all of my briefs are single stroke briefs. This is the code that would allow me to do multiple stroke briefs with the ability to do the repeats. You'll notice that he has cleaned up my variable assignment methods. There's no need for me to be quite as verbose as I am. I don't do Python anywhere in my life except every 6 months when I decide to do something funky with Plover, so I'm not at all good with it. But anyway, I don't know I've got anything more to add. Appreciate everybody taking the time to look at it, and hopefully someone will be interested in this dictionary, and if you are, maybe Ted will publish it, or I'll private message it to you if you want it, whatever.